Two of the most popular videos on my channel, Borderlands vs. Borderlands 2 and Demon's Souls vs. Dark Souls, compared sequels to their original predecessors and the differences between them. So what better way to introduce people to the Xcom franchise than by comparing its original to its upcoming sequel? So without further ado, here is Xcom vs. Xcom 2, a primer. Coming in at number 15 is the story. Xcom 2 is set 20 years after the events of Xcom Enemy Unknown, in a scenario in which humanity was defeated by aliens. The world is controlled by the alien-backed Advent administration, and Xcom has been forgotten. The player must take control of the commander of the Avenger, an alien supply barge that has been converted into Xcom's mobile base, and it's up to you to free humanity from alien rule. Coming in at number 14 is the hacking. In Xcom 2, the Specialist class has a drone known as the Gremlin, which allows the player to hack turrets and other electronic devices and use them to their advantage when in combat. In the demo, we see the player hack a turret using their current abilities to take down several enemies at one time. More than likely, as you progress through the game, more perks and abilities associated with this class will be revealed, ultimately aiding you on the battlefield. Coming in at number 13 is the new enemy types in Xcom 2. With the introduction of the Advent administration taking a hold across Earth comes new enemy types for you to battle, and their movements and tactics aren't the easiest to predict. The Viper, for example, can be seen in the demo not only inflicting poison from a distance, but also using its tongue to grapple soldiers from afar during combat, even if they are under cover. Similarly, robotic soldiers have been shown as well as an upgraded Berserker from the first game, offering a punishing melee attack to players. Many of the enemy types in Xcom 2 are very much unknown at this point, leaving players to be constantly on their toes when in combat. Coming in at number 12 is the refined soldier customization system. Soldier customization also returns from Enemy Unknown, in which players can customize their soldiers' personalities and names. Furthermore, genders, nationalities, accents, uniforms, and costumes can be changed as well. Now, given that you're a resistance group as opposed to an army, this only makes sense. There's even a veteran class that, once reached, allows you to apply tattoos, scars, and even cigars to your character. Coming in at number 11 is territory control. In the original Xcom, players had to make strategic decisions when it came to deciding which countries they wanted to help based largely on the panic level of each nation. This is different in Xcom 2, however, with players having to reclaim the Earth one region at a time, having to decide to take on certain missions based on short-term rewards versus the long-term outcomes, such as having to defend their reclaimed territories. Coming in at number 10 is dynamic reinforcements. With players acting as part of a resistance group against the entrenched enemy forces occupying Earth, your enemy won't stop once you've made your presence known on the battlefield. In other words, once you're spotted, it's more than likely reinforcements will soon make their way to your position. Unlike the first Xcom, where the number or type of enemy that would appear on any given map was easily predictable, especially through repeated playthroughs of particularly difficult levels. Xcom 2 plans to be more random and varied when it comes to reinforcements, leaving players safe one moment, then overwhelmed with incoming enemies the next. Coming in at number 9 is the fact that Xcom 2 is a PC-exclusive title. Unlike Enemy Unknown, which was released on consoles and mobile devices, Xcom 2 is a PC-exclusive video game and will only be distributed through Steam. According to developer Firaxis Games, the reason behind this decision was that the company is more experienced at developing PC games. Another reason is that a PC-only game allows them to create new features such as levels which are procedurally generated, and the fact that developing it for only one platform is a lot easier and simpler than developing a game for multiple systems. Coming in at number 8 is the new classes available in Xcom 2. Now there are 5 new classes to get excited about in Xcom 2. The Ranger, the Grenadier, the Specialist, the Sharpshooter, and one yet to be announced, most of which are extensions from the first game in a guerrilla warfare-like veneer. For example, the Ranger class can be similarly aligned with the Assault class from the first game with more melee-style weapons such as swords for close-range combat. Similarly, the Grenadier class can gain access to explosives and grenade launchers similar to the Heavy class in Xcom Enemy Unknown. Coming in at number 7 is carrying allies. One of the big changes in Xcom 2 as opposed to its original is the ability to carry allies on the battlefield. With players acting as the invaders, hit-and-run style combat will take precedent over the kill-them-all style gameplay of Enemy Unknown. To that end, mobility plays a big factor when in combat. In addition to reviving and lending aid to fallen comrades, injured or disabled comrades can be carried off the battlefield during combat, well out of harm's way. Coming in at number 6 is mod support. The developers of Xcom consider a lack of mod support in Enemy Unknown a regret. As a result, the game's modding aspects will be significantly expanded in Xcom 2. Furthermore, Firaxis will release the Unreal Development Kit for players upon release, allowing them to create their own content. Firaxis considers mod support a win-win method for both players and the company. As such, it is a solution that will effectively expand the game's lifespan and longevity. Coming in at number 5 is custom evacuation areas. In the original Xcom, players entered and exited maps via airships, which always remained in a fixed position. This became especially difficult during missions that required evacuation of people that made you go from one side of the map to the other. With humans acting as the invaders in Xcom 2, the designers have made evacuation far more flexible by allowing players to call in a dropship with custom evacuation points of unoccupied areas on the map, making gameplay a lot more flexible and convenient. Coming in at number 4 is the upgraded weapon system. In addition to a plethora of new customization options for your soldiers, there have also been a slew of similar modifications to the ways weapons handle during combat. For example, there's a perk in XCOM 2 that allows shotguns to be automatically reloaded so a turn isn't wasted in combat. Similarly, as a resistance group, trying to match the far advanced technology, players can cobble together new weapon upgrades and boosts in the Proving Ground, a new addition to your base that allows you to accomplish such feats. Coming in at number 3 is additional mission objectives. XCOM 2 features faster combat than in Enemy Unknown, in which there are a lot of missions where players must complete their objectives quickly and return to their extraction point immediately. Now, the mission structure of the game will also be different from other XCOM games, as XCOM 2 features secondary objectives for the first time in the series. For example, the demo featured at E3 showed players having to destroy a statue landmark in the heart of the city square to make the presence of XCOM known to the world. These secondary mission objectives will be featured in most, if not all, missions in XCOM 2, and are a fantastic addition to the franchise. Coming in at number 2 is Shadows. When players begin each mission, their squadron will not be detected by any enemies. While it was difficult to sneak up and flank enemies to great effect in Enemy Unknown, players can now use cover and shadows to cleverly hide themselves before attacking enemies, at least to a greater degree. At the beginning of every battle, players can set up an ambush for a surprise attack before revealing themselves to the enemy, unlike in previous games where most enemies would spot the player whenever they ran across the map. And coming in at number 1 is the procedurally generated map system. Procedurally generated levels is an idea that was previously scrapped in Enemy Unknown, as they considered it would bring severe disadvantages to the player. As a result, Enemy Unknown featured handcrafted maps, all designed by Firaxis. While the reception of these maps were generally positive, players complained that they got repetitive very quickly. As a result, a new system called the Plot and Parcel system is introduced in XCOM 2 that will randomly generate objects and buildings. In addition, scenery items, side missions, enemy placements, reinforcements, and multiplayer maps are also randomly generated. And there you have it, the top 15 changes between XCOM and XCOM 2. Now, I want to hear what you have to say. Maybe there's a change that I forgot to put on this list. Maybe there's one particular change that you specifically like or dislike. In that case, feel free to put a comment in the comment section below. And as always, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. That being said, I'm the Millennium Gamer, signing off.